Howdy, hey bays! Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Evie Aswiti. I make videos about beauty and self-development. Today's topic, we're going to talk about secrecy versus privacy and the concepts between the two. I think this is really timely for the internet streets lately, and I want to talk about pros and cons of both. Are you a secretive person or are you a private person? What's the difference? What are some similarities? And just my opinion about what makes sense. So if that interests you, then keep on watching. Privacy is something that I more align myself to be. I deem myself to be more of a private person. I don't really like going into my personal business like that, especially on the internet. And I think that's pretty much on brand for me, considering that like my best performing video on my channel is about moving in silence and how to move in silence. Make sure you watch that if you haven't yet. I'll link it below. I think privacy today, people are craving that so much now because it's like with the whole like things with TikTok and it going away because of government stuff, or people just wanting to have a bit of their life back and not feel like they have to post online so much about it. I think people are craving privacy as a luxury, and I think people are trying to define what privacy means for them. I know for me, there's certain things that I would never post online or on my channel, not because it's not worthy of talking about, but because I just don't want it to be online, or I don't feel like it's to anyone else's discretion than my own. And I think that's something that people can respect, you know what I mean? And it adds like an air of mystery to some people, But I think some folks take it a little too far. Secrecy is something that I think has more of a negative connotation around it. Granted, there's certain things that you should keep a secret. Like if someone tells you a secret, keep that a secret, If there's certain things that you're discerning and it's not wise for anyone to know, like keep it to your chest, you know what I mean? Take it to the grave. I believe in that in some contexts, but secrecy, I think, kind of comes from a place for the folks that I know that come off secretive of like a lack of vulnerability and like a lack of wanting to have closeness to people. And, it's up to those people to say like why they have like a fear of being vulnerable or having a sense of closeness to people or their loved ones, or even themselves. That's really up to them. But I truly believe that secrecy doesn't really like optimize you to experience the most out of life. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying like I'm an open book, but I consider myself to be, I know how to be very open to people, but also keep the most delicate parts of me to myself. So it's not hard for me to connect with people or to, have a sense of vulnerability with them to an extent that that's earned and the rapport is there. And also if I'm getting that reciprocated, right? So like, I think now, especially on the internet, a lot of, girlies are very into like relationship type content and content about like relationships, when is it appropriate for someone to know something about your intimate personal relationships, even like with corporate girly side of the internet, with like what you tell about your job and what you do for a living, how much you make at said job and like your earnings. So I think there's like a lot of tug and pull between what's private information and what's secretive information or considered gatekeeping. And I think there can be a sense of privacy being more socially accepted and secrecy being not socially accepted and deemed as negative. When, in my opinion, I think if someone's mad at you because you're being secretive about something, I think it's probably due to one or two things. One, it could be because that person feels entitled to know certain information about you. Um, and that's pretty common. I mean, a lot of people feel entitled to know what's up with you. Like, people are nosy, like, that's just what it is. But another reason why people can feel entitled to know things about you and you're secretive is not entitled, but another reason why people would want to know your secrets or open up you if you're secretive is maybe they feel like they've opened up to you and they had an expectation of you opening yourself back. But I've learned, like, dealing with secretive people, you just let them be in their secretiveness and just don't force them to be open. Like, let them open up on their own and let them experience the abridged version of you versus like the full version of you. Because I know me myself, I'm not really going to be as close or have a deep relationship with someone that is secretive or extremely private, and they clearly have like they compartmentalize me in some way. So I'm not gonna force them to try to like tell me their deepest, darkest things and let's be close, let's be twin flames. I don't know, I don't even like that term, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not forcing that because it's clearly not organic. And I think with privacy feels more organic because there's certain things like I'm not gonna ask. Like, I'm not asking somebody, oh, how much do you make at your job? That's a private matter. And frankly, it's not my business. You know what I mean? Like, it's not someone withholding how much they make at a job is not a secret. It's just private information. You know what I mean? Versus, someone being like, you had no idea they were in a relationship and they kept that a secret. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I think that's kind of, a little side eye because even with that, I think a lot of people can want to keep their relationship status silent, a secret, and that's here or there. But there are some people that are just very private, and the people that know, they know, and the people that don't, they don't, and that can have like a little gray area. But I think in the example of like the job side of things, I think not knowing what someone makes for a living, like how much money they make, I believe that's someone being private if they withhold that. But if you've known someone for like 6 months, a year, and they won't tell you what they do for a living or even like what their role is, that's a secretive person. Point blank period. That's a secretive person. Like, that just is what it is. On the flip side of relationships, if you've been friends with someone and you don't even know that they're even in a relationship, that's a secretive person. You know what I mean? Now, it's different if like a private person in that scenario could be, they're in a relationship, but they're not telling you anything about what goes on in that relationship or their plans for said person, because it's not your business. The business is for the partner to know what's going on in that relationship, But like, when you see them and their partner, or them by themselves, or the partner by themselves, how they carry themselves and how they act, it would be very clear that this person is taken. You know what I mean? Like, they're not looking for someone outside of themselves to date. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with like someone that has like a job and you don't know what they do for work. I don't see the point of being so secretive about what one makes for a living. But I do understand the privacy of keeping what you do for a living to yourself when you first meet people, because it's like a lot of folks can be scammers and use you for your resources. And that's not something anyone wants to feel. No one wants to feel used. No one wants to feel like they are seen for what they're associated with versus who they are as people. So I hope those two examples that are more common from what I see on the internet can kind of help differentiate between what's secretiveness versus privacy. Another big thing about being secretive versus privacy is like family stuff. Like, there's some people that are very open. They put their kids and family and stuff on the internet. And there's some people that they would not be caught dead putting their children or family members on the internet, you know? And I'm along the line that I don't think that's secretive if you don't want to put your kids on the internet. I think it's secretive if you don't want to tell people your children's names and you have a rapport with them. Like, that would be kind of weird. Like, okay, it's fine if you don't want, it's private if you don't want to put your kids on the internet. But you're so private that your kids' names are off limits. I don't know. To me, that's like very secretive to me. That to me is like, there's no way, I don't have kids, but there's no way that I would not tell someone my kids' names unless like I legit had like a bad feeling. You know what I mean? But on the internet, no way. I'm not putting my kids on the internet. But that's just because I'm a private person, you know? But like in real life, people can see who my family is, you know, because it's not a secret, you know? So that's another example of like people have their way of towing the line. But I think for me, the thing that makes it kind of interesting is that with the topic of secrecy versus privacy, right? There's also another caveat of the loneliness epidemic and people not being able to form good relationships or have like good friendships or even like date and get to know someone to form a partnership. And I just don't understand how people desire to have like a longing relationship, whether it's through platonic, like friends and family, or familial with family, or romantic with like a partner, and they don't want to be vulnerable or open up and then expect them to have some depth or fruit to that relationship that they're trying to build. It just doesn't make sense to me personally. And I'm not saying this from a state of judgment because I did have a period in my life where I was very like not good at being vulnerable and very much want to like be closed up. But I realized like being closed up just comes from a place of fear and operating in fear. And I wasn't getting the most out of life that I could get if I just let go and be open to new things. Whereas closing yourself up could be a way of protecting yourself, but it's also blocking out good things that come to you too. And even from a state of like health, like, you know how many people are like, they have health issues, but because they want to be private or secretive about it and they don't want to get a second opinion because of maybe, you know, they don't want anyone to know, then they end up becoming really sick and end up having to manage a condition that is going to ultimately affect their well-being and livelihood for the rest of their life, you know? I think that's why like a lot of research is around like how men that are unmarried and don't have like wives, they end up like not living as long and they're sick easier because they don't have someone to kind of advocate to tell them like, hey, you need to go talk to someone. And I think for people in general, like we're social beings, we're literally created to connect. And I just think in an era where people crave and are desperate for connection, we have to be open to receive people and to receive connection. And that requires knowing your boundaries of what you want to keep private and what you want to keep secretive, but also knowing what level of openness you have and letting other people and other parties come in at the threshold that you can handle and at the bandwidth that you can handle and what is based off what people earn and level of trust and all of the things really. So I want to hear from you. I would love to know, what are your thoughts about being private versus secretive? Please do let me know in the comments below. This is more of like a chit chat self-development video, not really a beauty video, but if you do want more beauty videos from me, please give me suggestions down below in the comment section and I'll be happy to add that to my list of upcoming videos. Always remember that you glow for a living because you're lit from within, beyond skin deep. And I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.